Welcome everyone to this 100 Days of No Code workshop. We're super lucky to be joined by Traf from Super.so, which is a super cool, that was not a pun by any means, super cool no code builder that lets you take your Notion files or your Notion pages and turn them into websites. I think Traf is going to be actually rebuilding his personal site on Super Live today, and going to be taking questions as he builds. So please chuck any questions you have in the chat and I'll fire them across to Traf. And also feel free to come off mute because it's quite an intimate session. So I don't think we'll have any problem there either. But yeah, I think we'll have some time maybe at the end as well for questions, but we'll see how we go. So cool. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Traf and to get us off.
For sure. So yeah, like Max said, I was just gonna sort of go through the process of, I took down my website on purpose. It was written originally with just, HTML, CSS, and took it down. I meant to redesign it in Super. So this was a good excuse to do that. And yeah, so I'll just run through the process. Feel free to shoot over any questions, as they come up, because I'm probably just going to be building away. So I'll share my screen.
And I was wondering, Traf, it would be great to see. I'm sure everyone does know what Super is, but it would be great for just to like a better intro than what I gave. It would be great just if you could tell people what Super is. Sure. and what it does.
For sure. So this should say most of it, but it's a really easy way to turn your Notion pages into fast functional websites. And so the idea came originally when I wanted to share a Notion page publicly. And I couldn't do that without sharing the horrendously long Notion URL and had their logo on it, and it was slow and bulky, and I couldn't really customize it how I liked. And so I figured it might be great to be able to do that because, if you can manage a website entirely from within Notion, it would seem pretty great experience. And so reached out to my now co-founder, Jason, and he thought it was a great idea as well. And so we just sort of built it out within the span of about a month. We got the MVP out. The first feature initially was really just custom domain because it was the biggest thing. But now we actually generate static websites from your Notion pages, making them much faster. We remove all the Notion bloat and third-party scripts. We remove like the banner and the logo that's shown on mobile and things like that. And you can also extend your site now with integrations. They're fairly unofficial right now, but still possible. And yeah, we'll be expanding on that. So yeah, I'll just be running through, basically putting together this bare Notion page. Not a whole lot going on here. And yeah, I'm going to also go through the process of actually creating a site on Super to show how that works and the site creation process. So any questions come up, feel free to shoot at them, while I'm going through this.
Awesome. I guess the first question is why haven't you had your personal site on Super before this point in time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it was just a matter of importance and prioritizing the work. And so I did a lot of just work on Super directly, but this seemed low priority. But yeah, now it seems like a good opportunity. It's been nagging at me. So yeah, I'm ready to get this going.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm going to create a new site here. We'll actually be retiring this method, but super static is the static generation aspect that I was talking about. So a ton of advantages for performance, SEO, things like that. And it still works similarly where, automatic syncing directly from Notion and such. So I'm going to enter my info here. I'm going to take this URL, make sure sharing is on. I'm going to copy that link, paste that in here. Here's where we'll be able to set up pretty URLs later on for sub pages. I'll skip that for now. And I actually already set up my DNS with Cloudflare. So I can skip the whole boring DNS process. And then here's where you could enter some pretty interesting things. So like snippet injection is where you can add actually, HTML or CSS or even JavaScript through scripts. So if you wanted to add, analytics or live chat widgets and such, you can inject those elements onto your site. For now, I created a really simple style to just hide some elements on my site. So like if I want to hide this toggle, if I want to hide this this title on just the home page and the nav bar, I could do that with this simple CSS snippet. And we're aiming to do all of these without coding in the next version. And I'm actually, if you guys are interested, I could run you through the next version of Super that we're in the process of beta testing, and to show you some of the new advanced features that are coming soon. Here's where you could upload a site image, which is shown when your site is shared on Slack or Twitter. You can upload a favicon, which is the browser icon here. Site description is also shown on Twitter. I'll leave that blank for now. Here's where you can also enable or disable site search. So a little search icon would show up, something like that. I'll leave that disabled. Page properties are database items that you can show or hide on your site, and then search engine indexing, which obviously I'll keep that enabled. And that'll basically start by setting it up. It's checking DNS, making sure that's set up. Once it's set up, it'll start deploying. And meanwhile, I'll just start building some stuff in Notion. So I have a pretty rough idea of what I want to do. Basically a little gallery section to showcase some of the projects that I'm working on. Nothing too crazy, honestly. Probably just a nice gallery section. We'll make that a little bit more full width in the code. And I actually had already written the code, so I'm just going to paste that in later on to showcase, how that works. I'm not going to probably sit here and do code up my entire site, but if you have any questions on any specific styles or how anything works, ask away.
Shraf, I was going to, just out of curiosity, because this is a big pain point for a lot of no coders, is the actual design aspect of it. And right. a white blank page is often a scary sight for a lot of people. I know a lot of people love your designs and the way you sort of approach things with minimalism, and I'd just be interested to know how you go about designing your websites and the inspiration you take, and any tips for people that are designing from a blank page, essentially.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure I have a great answer, just because it's mostly just dumping content onto the page and then seeing how to make it prettier and make it easier to go through. One good thing is I do find constraints often breed creativity. And so the good thing about Notion is that you literally, as soon as you hit / on your keyboard, you literally have a list of blocks or available blocks to you that you can use, which sort of help with actually just getting your stuff out there onto the page, because it's often if you truly have a blank page and you're in a Figma canvas or something, it's sort of hard to decide where to start. Whereas here, it's it feels a little bit more natural in Notion to just start typing something or start laying out, a gallery, and a lot of it is just starts being laid out for you on the screen, which helps a little bit when it comes to designing, or at least putting something out there. And then afterwards, you can think about, aesthetics a little bit more and how you want to go about styling it based on, around your brand and things like that.
That's really
we can go through, obviously, afterwards in terms of the styling components.
Got you. So kind of to summarize, almost laying out the structure of your pages and the things you need to be on that page, and then kind of using that as your base from which you start actually making it, or prettifying it, if you like, and making it look good.
Yeah, exactly. So for here, we'll just start with probably listing out a few projects. So I'll start with Super. I'll add like a little tagline that I'll want to show. So like build websites with Notion. I'll get rid of these default properties. And I'll add, I know there's two things. These are all going to be outbound links. So one thing I want to add is probably an icon, like an arrow to signify that these are outbound. So I'll choose that as a little file, and I could upload a little icon that I already did here, like an arrow. You actually can't see this because it's white, but if I go like this and then show the icon, you should see that show up. Yeah, so that shows up there. We'll also add like a cover image. So I'll add that as a property as well.
I'm curious, Traf, about your like main use cases that you see people using Super for, and assuming personal websites is high on the list, but I'd be intrigued to hear about other use cases that you didn't actually anticipate as you built and launched Super.
For sure, yeah. A lot of it is actually to do with how businesses are going about using these for a lot of their marketing pages or their help centers or their support pages, like things like that. On the personal or individual level, we have people using this for all sorts of things, portfolios and blogs and personal websites and resumes and such. But on the business level, it's been interesting to see as well. Like even FAQ pages or change logs. It's like really the sky's the limit. And I'm assuming it's also a breath of fresh air for a lot of marketers, because they don't want to bug their design or development team to get out really simple pages. So if you could add a Notion page as a subdomain on your primary domain, then you could it feels like magic, just publishing something from Notion and it's automatically live on a URL.
Big time. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, the internal use cases are particularly interesting. And I just want to ask as well, obviously community is a big word of 2020, 2021, and sure for many more years. But I'm just intrigued, are people using Super to kind of build communities on as well? Because I've seen people use Notion for like community sites now. By integrating with Memberful and things like that. I don't know if you've had any of those use cases.
For sure. It is starting to be a thing. We have a guide here that MemberStack had actually put together. MemberSpace. How to create a Notion website with like a membership site. So you can actually charge users, and you can actually gate content, and you can you can have a free plan, so users just need to sign up on your site to get access, or you can actually pay. They have like full instructions on how to set it up with Super as well. And so we've been starting to see some of this as well, for sure. And a lot of it has been MakerPad had actually put together, I think this is the URL. Yeah, they put together a little deep dive on how to run a low-cost membership community or creator business with MemberSpace, Gumroad, Notion, Super, and Circle. So this is quite a lot of tools, but they all do individually a pretty good job, and they all integrate nicely with each other. And so, yeah, we've been seeing more and more of this this kind of thing pop up for sure.
Awesome. I'll drop those links in the chat. Thanks for sharing them.
Sure. So I'll just add a few more projects, maybe 2 more projects here. Oh.
So for people just getting started in Super, is there any like common mistakes that you see? I mean, I know Super is such an easy to use tool, but are there any like mistakes people entering the tool make that are good for them to know, so they don't make the same mistakes others have when they're using Super?
Yeah, I mean, not really when it comes to actually publishing anything from Notion. It's like mostly on the DNS level where people, I guess, get a little bit confused, because that is probably the most like complicated part of the process. Even though it really requires like one DNS record for subdomain, maybe two for a regular root domain. Um, but yeah, outside of that, it's pretty natural flowing. I mean, as soon as you publish something in Notion, it'll carry over to Super pretty seamlessly. There are a few things with static sites that aren't currently supported yet, like if I add a separate view to this, and if I add like let's say a table view and I create that, then you could do that in Notion, but on Super we actually won't allow visitors to change the views of databases. At first, we just put it off just because it was a little bit more complicated than carrying over a lot of the other things. But after we also realized that it's a little bit unnatural on a website to be able to like change the view of a certain block. It seems like something that you should decide as a creator how you best want your projects or lists to be displayed or content to be displayed versus like putting that decision on to the visitor or the customer. So now it's starting to be a little bit more intentional. We might add it back as an option, but yeah, a little few nuances like that. Formulas also currently not supported. So those are the biggest things.
Awesome. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, we've got a nice gallery going on here. Let's see actually if that is okay. So we can see this is live now. So if I visit this, you can see that the content I'm putting together starting to show up here. And spacing is a little bit odd just because with that style that I put in before, it hid the navigation bar in the header, but we'll fix that up later. We're also going to make the background black and all of that, and all of these cards a little bit darker, and so you can see the arrow and all of that. But yeah, outside of that, I also put together a few other pages. So I've put together this like little playground page just to showcase a few more of my design work, just like really random projects that never made the cut or that I failed to launch, or some like really old client work that I'll probably populate here that I'm proud of. And I also put together a little blog page, and this just uses a list view. So similar to the gallery view, I could actually turn this into a gallery if I wanted to, but I prefer it as a list view, and showcase some of my popular blog articles. And yeah, so if I wanted to view this now, I could do that and it should load. Yeah. So it loads fine, but obviously navigation, I hid that. So it's hard to sort of navigate here. And also I hid the toggles. So yeah, I'll have to think about that. But I'll show you guys like even this, like it's very, very rough and pretty rudimentary, but it's starting to come across. So, even just changing the background, which I can do here. If I go in here, and in our new dashboard, actually, you can do this without going into the code.
That would be great to. I think you mentioned that you may show a little bit of that off near the end, but yeah, would love to go into a little bit of your roadmap and kind of where you're looking to add and improve Super.
For sure, yeah. At first, we sort of put this box here just for people to extend their site with things like analytics. But we very quickly realized that a lot of people are sort of dumping in all sorts of things into this little box, and obviously it's not convenient because it's a pretty small box. So originally it was really meant for like one script that you're adding to extend your site with like a little chat widget or analytics or something like that. But people are really taking advantage of that, which is great to see. So our next version, which I can walk you through soon, will have like, full height code editor for people who do like to code. And if not, we'll also have like theming capabilities that you can do without code. So as you can see here, just with like the background and the text change, it's starting to feel a lot more, I guess, at home with this sort of imagery. Not sure what's going on with these icon sizes, but fix that up.
And someone asked, is that Tailwind that you're using for the code, or not?
No, this is just sort of like raw CSS. And one of the other benefits of using the static site method is that we actually add classes to all the popular Notion blocks. So if I just like right click here and inspect to just see what's going on behind the scenes, you can see that there's like a Notion collection gallery. So that's, we add classes to all of these popular div blocks in Notion so we can easily target them with CSS. As for the colors that you saw, these are all the default colors that Notion uses. And so we could actually see that and manipulate those on the back end to change the default colors. We can go through to change all the actual colors. So if we wanted to use, like if we wanted to make this, orange or something, we can go in and change these default oranges. So it still feels supernatural when you build it once within Super, and then you can edit content as you go on Notion and don't have to worry about anything breaking or anything like that.
Awesome. Thanks for that. That's good to know.
So, oops. You guys can still hear me, right?
All good. Yeah. You're
cool. I thought
yeah.
So I'll just paste in the style sheet actually that I had put together previously, and I can actually replace all of this because it's all in the style sheet. So if I just link to the style sheet that I had coded previously, it basically looks like this. Like this is like the hosted file, and I could save that. Then you'll see all the styles come through, and this is like the really magical part about Super. And you could see it's like almost completely redesigned soon. But through our marketplace, we're actually like releasing a lot of these as templates. So you can, see, for instance, the context template, this doesn't look like Notion at all, but it's just as simple as editing text within Notion in any of these pages, So we're starting to put together a lot of these really stylized templates. And you can see that they support pretty much all the Notion blocks. So I listed all the blocks out in this page, even modified, like I was talking about before, like all the color schemes, the color palette. These are all the database options, so tables, boards, lists, galleries, and all the media aspects, images and videos and such. So we could really customize almost 100% of Notion, which is really great. So you don't have to, like I said, worry about anything breaking or not displaying properly because everything is customizable.
Awesome.
It's another great one.
Oh, wow. That looks awesome. I just got a question from Charlotta in the chat around asking if there's going to be annual payments in the future for Super, if that's going to be a thing.
For sure. Yeah. We do plan on adding more payment options in the future. It's just been a matter of like prioritizing what people are asking for most. which in this case, it's been, free, or like test domains. So you can sort of like launch a site without owning a domain, live site preview. So if you want to preview your website before seeing it in Notion or like within Super, the dashboard itself, things like password protection, responsive dashboard. So there's been a whole load of things that people have been sort of demanding from us that we were happy to provide and prioritize. So I'll run you through that as well.
Nice. And we've got one more question from Nicola, who just wants to know, do you have any job offer pages for developers? And what is your current stack built on?
Job offer pages? As in, like, are we hiring, or am I misunderstanding that?
Yeah, I assume so. Nicola, yeah, feel free to come off mute to clarify. I'm assuming it's jobs that you're hiring for.
Right. Yeah, not currently. We did just bring on someone. Her name is Nisreen, who's been helping out with a few miscellaneous things and support and such. We are thinking about bringing on developers in the near future to help us with like very specific features that we want to add to the dashboard. And once we do, we'll put out like a jobs page or careers page on that, and we'll put that out on Twitter and through our email list as well, which you can subscribe to by going to super.so/mailer. You can see our previous issues, but here's where we keep everyone updated on new guides, templates, and resources and updates.
Great. Thanks for
and yeah, that second question, I don't remember what it was.
Sure. Yeah. So what stack have you used to build Super on?
Right. It's all mostly on React, and we use Next.js by Vercel, and we also use Vercel to actually deploy all of our static sites as well.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can see here as I refreshed, there's these look pretty different. I made them a little bit full width, so like they're full gallery cards now with some nice hover effects. But right now they're not clickable actually. And so this is one cool thing that we added with Super as well. If you add a property, a URL property called super:link, whichever link you put here will make the entire card clickable. So that's not something that you can naturally do in Super, and that's something we're also going to be adding a few more of these custom properties in the future. And so those will make the entire card clickable, so you can link out to your projects.
So it'd be really interesting to know, Traf, what are the coolest things that have been built in Super that have really captured your imagination?
Yeah, we put a lot of our favorite sites on our showcase. You can see like people really take advantage of customizing. This was a template by Sam Judge called Sci. I think it's that. Yeah, it's this. So he put together, he had originally built his personal website using Notion and Super. And so a lot of people had asked him for a template for it because, it looks great. He had a little blog section. So a lot of people utilize these templates, which is great to see. So you can see these don't look like Notion at all with like nav bars, about pages, things like that. So a lot of our support page here, people are utilizing also a lot of our guides. We put together like little micro guides to help people put together buttons, because that's, you can't even add a button in Notion, but you can add a call out block. So we're starting to like customize specific blocks to do specific things. So we turn call out blocks into buttons in some guides. These are great pages. Let's see, a lot of documentation pages. These are pretty bare bones, but effective. some people go wild with the CSS as well. Like if you see here on like the hover effects, like really unique. And these are all just utilizing Notion galleries on the back end.
That's super
Call
cool.
out blocks as well. This guy had some really interesting hover effects as well for his blog. And some people like to just keep it bare bones as well, which I can appreciate for sure. Because it's, you know, especially for things like careers pages, like it's mostly based around the content than it is about, you know, the design. If you're making like a portfolio that's showcasing your design work, it might be a little bit different. But a lot of the content-based websites are pretty effective. And actually my own icons page that I did previously is all on Notion and Super as well. And it integrates nicely with Gumroad. So if I click this, you get like a little Gumroad pop-up. And you actually go through the purchase process. You stay on your website completely, which is nice. So you don't have to redirect. And it's all just using, default Notion blocks like text, images, things like that.
This is great. And someone just asked quickly, could you repeat how to introduce cover effects in a Notion page? I don't know. Yeah, if you could clarify
that. These covers, is that what you mean?
Yeah, Edita, yeah, feel free to come off mute and clarify. I wasn't sure if you meant hover effects or cover effects. Yeah, feel free to just clarify in the chat and I'll chuck that over. Hover effects, yeah.
Oh, hover effects.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, those would be, Notion does have some default hover effects of like a hover, like backgrounds change and things like that. But with things like this is all like, more or less custom, like on hover. And I could actually find it here in the code. Like I said, all this code stuff is like completely optional. And we are hoping to move a lot of these functionalities to be able to do without coding. But you could see that on hover for the collection cards, I just scale that down to 96%. So this is still all based on a little bit of CSS. But yeah, I can run you through the new dashboard, which is exciting. And also another cool thing is I can paste in some HTML and some scripts as well. So you can really start to extend the functionality. So if I do that here, I could put that underneath my linked CSS file, just paste that in. And I've already styled this nav component and I made sure these scripts are working properly. And we will be having custom nav bars and footers coming to the next version of Super as well. So if I add that, you can see my logo has been added and also this little nav toggle, which shows a little pop-up. And I can link to my other pages, so my thoughts and my playground. And actually, I haven't set up pretty URLs yet. So these URLs won't actually work. It'll show like a 404 page. So if I want to do that, all you have to do is basically go into Notion. You want to copy the link to the page. Then in Super, go on to pretty URLs. You could paste that link in here and you could say what you want the pretty URL to be, and you could add some more. So if I want to add one for thoughts, and I could also add some for subpages as well. So if I want to add one for this post, I could also nest them. So if I wanted to go thoughts/6, I could do that, or I could just do 6 and then hit save.
And just got another question from Charlotta around, does Super support Sass or is it just pure CSS? In your, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. As of right, It depends. If you're able to, like right now within the box, it only supports native CSS. But some people have been, if you host this file somewhere, like I am with GitHub Pages, you can essentially have a build process for Sass that converts your Sass to CSS, and that's what outputs and links to your linked CSS file. So it's definitely possible to use Sass. In the next version of Super, not the one that's coming up, but maybe later on, we will be having a little bit more fun with that, embedding Sass and other languages natively into the dashboard.
Perfect. Thanks.
So you can see the playground URL is not working fine. I made these images a little bit more full screen. And same with the thoughts. So I basically turned a list item into something that looks a little bit like this. And you can see if you hover over these, the long URLs are by default, but this one I set up to have that pretty URL. And if I click that, you can go into the blog post. And this just looks, very similar in Notion itself, just stylized a little bit.
A quick question about that. Hi, James. My name's Luke. I've been using Notion since 2016, and one of the good things about Notion is to collect all of the databases and create like a master database and have that somewhere in some page. But I think currently you don't support linking to a database from a different spot, right? And you have to have the databases on the pages that you'll put publicly available.
Yeah, we actually do support linked databases. Again, the databases that you're linking to have to be a child page of your main page, just because we only read content within that main page. But we do support like filtering and sorting and linked databases, and we actually use that. And I can run you through how we go about that on our actual website. So like this is our super.so website. It's all built on Super. You can see like we changed quite a bit. But if you look at, for instance, our market page, like if I head on over to that, then it's only showing you a filter that has published and it's active, right? Because we don't want to show unpublished items. So you can actually filter through, and it'll only, on Super, it will only display the filtered items or the sorted items. Another example of this is our icons page. This also uses a linked databases, and you could go to our master icon page, which has all of our icons, and then our individual page for light and dark only filter through whether they're the light icons or the dark icons, but they both use the same master database.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Sure.
And curious, Traf, obviously there is like an explosion of different no-code tools emerging. And I just wanted to know where you see yourself in the no-code tool landscape, and where you're positioning yourself against all these other shiny tools that are coming out every week, and what sort of your points of difference that you're playing to are. That'd be really interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, our main goal is really just to like build something that is the least amount of friction required to get your ideas out there from your head to a web page, and if you could do that without code, obviously it's going to be easier to do. So we're really focused on that, and we look at our product, I guess, in three different parts. One, the head being the actual content source. So that would be, through Notion, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be through Notion. So if you think of other platforms where you can sort of dump your ideas in and they can output differently, you can think of, a Figma page or a Roam research page, or other notes or documentation apps, like things like that could all act as a different source. And then the middle part, the body, is our optimizations, like actually turning that into a static website. And then the third part, the tail, could act as sort of the extension. So how are you extending your site or powering up your site with things like analytics, with chat support, with fonts, or customizing with third-party tools like any of these, like email marketing software or things like that. And obviously this will also be helpful when Notion releases their public API, which would support reading and writing of databases, and eventually their content API, which we're really excited for, which can actually add and remove content from a Notion page directly. But that would be coming a little bit later. So yeah, I mean, we're really looking at this as the premier and no code version of getting your ideas out onto a web page as quickly and seamlessly as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, love it. Particularly excited by some other sources of input from Figma to Roam. I mean, I won't hold you to that, but that's just mentioning those names, I think, is a really exciting potential for the roadmap.
So yeah, you can see here, I mean, it's not perfect and it's not probably not done yet, but it's got what I'm working on, a link to that. It's got a few of my projects that all link out now. So if I wanted to, they'll all open in a new tab. A nice little gallery. I can open a little menu, see what other work I'm working on and have worked on, and also a simple little blog post that I'm written for a blog. And yeah, I mean, this is like more than enough for me for now. And one cool thing about this is that it's, if someone visited this website sort of halfway through our discussion here, they would see like a half stylized pages. Some things are broken, some things are not, which is, it's interesting. It's like taking the idea of building in public and sort of rewording that to thinking in public, because as I'm writing this out or building this out in Notion, someone might land on a page that's like half completed. So it really takes that building in public idea to a new level.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's that quote, isn't it? Like having the garage door sort of half open when you're building, and this truly is, yeah, having it wide open. If you were to just push it out to Twitter right now, exactly. No, that's awesome.
And we will actually have a manual publishing feature as well. So if, one thing that we'll probably add for our super website is, as soon as you make changes in Notion, you might not want that to be public right away. And so you'll actually have to go into super to publish the changes you made in Notion manually, so that you can only publish them when they're ready.
Awesome.
So if there's no other questions, I could sort of run you guys through this new dashboard.
Yeah, that'd be epic. Yeah, I think we're good for time as well. So yeah, would love to see it.
Sure. So not a whole lot different on the main dashboard page. So a lot of it is the same. As you can see here, we now have test domains on the notion.site domain. So if I create a new site, which I can do, let's say I actually just take this one, copy that, new site, Traf, and then paste that Notion page in, continue. You can see that the page has a live preview, no styles, obviously, because I hadn't put anything in this version, and it gives you a sort of a URL that you can test with right away. And if I go into the details page, I can, the domains page, I can edit that to be anything I want. Updates right away. And then you could, of course, still add your custom domain over here. But to give a little preview of the theming capabilities, you could choose, obviously, fonts, you could still customize that. And the theming, you can preview what default dark mode would look like, what a neutral theme would look like, blackout, which is probably similar to what I've got live right now. And we'll obviously have much more of these themes in the near future. And you could save this, and as soon as you save it, it'll be published to that domain. So I'll save Blackout, and I can visit that. It should load fine.
We've just got a question from Nicola. I wondered, Nicola, if it would be easier if you share this question yourself, if you can come off mute. Otherwise, I'll happily send it across. But it looks like a bit of a big one, and I don't want to get it wrong. So feel free to fire away to Traf on that one.
Yes, sorry, I don't speak very well English. Sorry for my English.
No,
I'm curious. I'm curious about how you deploy all the website that the user create on the dashboard on Super on Vercel. Cioè, how you save it? You create a new project for each website, or is a single project? You fetch the configuration each time. So this is the question.
Yeah, this is my co-founder, Jason. You can direct all those technical questions to him through DM.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he has his DMs open. I'm not incredibly sure how that works on the back end, to be honest. What we do deploy a new site on Vercel for every site that is created on Super with a custom domain using the static site method. So we are on their enterprise plan. We have thousands of sites created with them, and hundreds a week being created as well. So yeah.
Yes. Okay, I will try with him. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. A few other really cool things. As you can see, the Notion content sync right now it's set to automatic, but I can change that to manual so that changes from Notion won't be pushed to your site automatically. I'll have to do that on Super. We still have obviously these settings like site search and page properties and things like that. One highly requested feature that we've got, we can now go into the pages, and I could actually sync my Notion pages, and it gets all the pages from my Notion, and it'll actually add pretty URLs to those automatically. So if you have pages with hundreds of pages in Notion, then automatic pretty URLs highly requested feature, and it's something that would be useful to you for sure. And you could actually add or edit your SEO code or your actual code per page, and you could actually also add password protection to each page. So if I wanted to password protect my projects page, I could add a password. Click save, and we're still testing this process out. But if I do that here and then go to projects, you can see we still have some styling issues to do, but the page is password protected. And if I add the page or the password, sorry, which it might be wrong. Yeah, we'll fix that up. But password protection will work properly in our next version, and you could even password protect the root page as well. So your entire website could be password protected if you have sensitive content, or if you only want to share your site with a select few.
Hi, Traf, thanks very much. That's great. With that, this is Mark. Thanks very much. Would that be one single password, or could you have multiple passwords?
Yeah, you'd be able to set multiple passwords for multiple pages. If you password protect a page, it would password protect, of course, all of its child pages. So if I try and visit this, it would be locked. So it would, but you can also password protect individual pages, as you can see here. And all of these can have different passwords, which you can easily set or remove from Super.
Yeah, so you could have multiple passwords for one page, so mimicking multiple users for that.
Oh, I see. You can only have one password per page, if that's what you're asking. So if I try and set a password, yeah, there's only one password that you could set for that one page. But that is an interesting, what would be your use case for that?
well, some gated content, on a premium sort of option. So you'd have a broadly open website with some pages that were restricted, and maybe there was a multiple user situation where you'd issue passwords, and obviously you're talking quite a lot of involvement there with handling passwords and memberships. But that's what I'd be thinking of, some sort of gated content open to
right
a group of particular users.
For sure. Yeah, maybe we'll talk through that and see if that makes sense. We are also planning, like, this is like the version 1 of what we consider to be like memberships on Super. So the entire functionality and the guide that I ran through earlier with MemberSpace, we want to be able to do that entire thing within Super. So if you want to actually gate this page and you want users to be able to sign up either through a service or through email, either free or through a paid membership, we can actually grant users access to this page after they've subscribed or signed up. And so this is the version 1 of that. We will be expanding on that quite a bit, but for now it's just, people seem to just want to password protect some of their pages on their site.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, that's the gist of a lot of it, but happy to answer any more questions for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much. That was super cool. Excited by the next steps, but also, yeah, really great to see how quick it is to just set something up in Super at present. So yeah, anyone come off mute by the last sort of 4 minutes or so before we wrap up? Looks like there's no questions. I wondered, Traf, if there's anything you'd like to share with the group, or any questions you had for us that you would find useful, or anything you'd just like to say before we close up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious as to just what you guys are looking for. Like, I know there are a whole lot of website builders out there in terms of, Webflow, Squarespace, Wix, WordPress even. There's a whole lot of no-code website builders as well. Notion, obviously, if you're prioritizing things like speed or ease of editing, slowly moves to the top of that list. But if there's anything that you guys feel is missing from these two solutions, I would be curious to hear about them and see if we can sort of build into the product and improve that through your guys' feedback.
Well, I do have something, James. I'm not a designer. Sure. I'm rather a developer, and one of the things that I find difficult about Super, I mean, I like editing pages in Notion, and it's quick and it's easy and it makes it visually appealing in some sense. But adding more CSS to the Notion, like the finalized version of the website, makes it difficult to see what you're editing in Notion and what's going to be the end result. I think the live preview will probably help with that, but it's difficult for me to translate what I have put in the Notion, run through and have the CSS run over it, and then translate that to the end result in my design, in the design that I have of the website in my head.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the live preview should definitely help with that, as we will also have live preview for coding. So, as soon as you close a div or add a style, you'll see that on your live preview populate right away. So you'll see those changes instantly. But that is a good point. And I don't want to, like I said, I've been trying to emphasize the ability to do a lot of these things that I've been doing and building through templates without knowing CSS at all, because most of our customers obviously don't. And so it's been impressive to see what people are building with it, but for the majority, we want to make sure that you can customize this, your site, as easily as possible through the dashboard itself. So I'd be curious to hear, what some of you guys would want to customize outside of the basics, like, themes or like color themes, fonts, things like that. I'd be curious to hear, because we want to build all of that functionality within the dashboard or UI itself.
Yeah, don't have any like top of mind thoughts, but
Right.
I think
On a high level, we'll have like templates for all of these use cases as well. You know, for developers, we'll have documentation templates, and ideally like multiple versions of them. You know, we're already started putting together quite a few portfolio templates for designers and some developers. You know, event page templates, careers pages. So like all of those, we want to have multiple versions of various templates so that you can have a really nice website that's also easy to edit, manage through Notion, but also looks great through Super.
yeah, no, that sounds great. Yeah, and I was like really just going to say sort of why I use Super is yeah for the speed, as you say. So that like ability to execute basically the fastest websites probably from idea to launch in no code. So yeah, if you can keep on that, it's that tricky balance, isn't it, between customization and speed, but I would certainly lean to speed because that's definitely why I really like it as a product at the moment, and I'm sure many others do. So yeah, that's kind of my vague thoughts, but I see we've just hit 6. So yeah, any final thoughts, Traf, that you'd like to just put out there, because people will be watching on recording as well. So yeah, any final thoughts?
For sure. Yeah, no, nothing comes to mind. It's been great, and you know, you guys can feel free to message me or DM me on Twitter at Traf with any closing thoughts or any questions you have on Super, and I'm happy to. I also can, you know, I usually walk through a lot of people with helping set up their own sites and for their own use cases, and so I'm happy to do that as well. So feel free to send me a message on Twitter and go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks so much. And yeah, really appreciate your time, as I said at the start. And yeah, looking forward to getting this recording out so more people can see it and get excited by Super. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks so much, Traf, for being here. And see you all on Twitter and Slack or elsewhere. But yeah, I hope to see you at next week's workshop as well. Yeah, cheers everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
For sure. Thanks, Max.
Yeah, have a good one. Bye bye.